Apex Online Racing is sponsored by Elgato, who created this lovely Stream Deck. For more information about the Stream Deck, the link is in the description below.
Good evening everyone and welcome to the Project Cars 2 AOR GT3 Tier 2 League on the PC Season 15 round number 10, the Indianapolis Grand Prix. My name is Thompson and tonight we are gonna be racing at Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's a race that I'm really looking forward to. It's the season finale and I think it's going to be an absolute fantastic race. So, first things first, let's have a little peek at the current standings. So, with the driver championship, obviously Anton won that one already in the last race at Dubai Circuit. But we've got some more interesting battles going on throughout the grid. So we've got, for example, TPW, who wants to clinch that third position in the championship. He's got Atlas for company, and then we've got a very interesting group from Easy Red to Mr. Ferret in the lower end of the top 10 as well, and Mucat and Nins probably will be battling it out for P6, and of course all the way down to the lower positions, people are very close together, so a good result today could be very interesting for some drivers. But the thing that will be most interesting tonight is actually the team championship, because that has not been decided yet. You can see that Mission Spinow is currently in the lead. The two drivers are Nins and Jack Game 88, and they are fighting Atlas and Mucat from Unseelie Racing for that top spot in the team championship. You can see the gap at the moment is 63.5 seconds, and the maximum points haul, in theory, that a group of two drivers can get is first and second plus the point for the fastest lap, which adds up to 95 points. So for Nins and Jack Game from Mission Spinow, obviously the only thing they need to do really is finish ahead of Unseelie or somewhere in a decent points paying position. Whereas for the green Lamborghinis, they'll have to do quite an effort tonight to get into a good position. So, just a final look here at the season calendar, what we are expecting tonight. So we've got Indianapolis road course. It will be a 90-minute race with 10 times time acceleration. We can see that the race starts at 4 in the afternoon local time. So we'll drive through the night and then back into the morning again with this one. So it's going to be very interesting. And looking at the weather, we'll go from sunny to rain during the night, and then in the morning it should clear up again. So a lot of strategy at play as well. Alright then, going onto the track, you can see that the cars are currently sitting on the grid, getting ready for the race. You can see at the top we've got 63 laps. That is one formation lap, and then 62 racing laps. We will start in reverse championship order. So Anton, who's currently in third, he will start in dead last, and he'll have to make his way through the field, as all the quick drivers will have to do. You can see everybody's pulling to the side at the moment, and they will sort themselves out into the correct positions. So just having a look who is there. I'm not 100% sure who's gonna start first. In theory, the one driver who would be allowed to start first, just from the championship standings, is Steve Allen, because he's currently the lowest driver that has earned points. But it looks like it's Matt 58, who is currently 31st in the championship. So he will start this race in first. And just having a look, there we have CJ, who's actually starting in second. And then in third we've got Volume with 3 exclamation marks, so you can imagine how loud that volume is. Now coming through next, it's going to be Darth Cyrus. Had a very interesting race at Zhuhai 2 rounds ago. He's already warming up his tyres, but they will cool down because they will have to wait for everybody to form up. Then we've got Vlad. I'm not quite sure if it's Vlad's Killer or Vlad the Killer. Not quite sure. Let's call him Vlad. In the black. Or is it dark blue? It looks black. Audi. And next we've got Speeding Sedan in the Mercedes. We've got Stevo 916 in the Bentley / Boatley. So let's see how the boat fares in the wet. Oh, and that's Meerkat already going for a little spin there. Hugger in the McLaren will start in 9th. Then we've got Andu in P10. The Ferrari of JJ in that dark blue livery, he will be starting 11th. Then we've got Lonia starting P12. Kiri 010 starting in 13th. Phantom Hamster starting in 14th position. Ike Sky trying to get a good race this one on. He was partaking in the practice race yesterday, just trying out the limits, and he did find them, so let's see if tonight he can keep it clean. We've got Mr. Ferret starting P16. Easy Red in the red Ferrari starting in 17th. There's Nins for Mission Spinau. And he's got Mewcat. Then we've got Maddock, and he's got Mewcat and Atlas behind him. Those are the 2 rivals for the team championship, and his teammate will be starting behind TPW. That's Jack Game 88. He'll be starting in 23rd, and then in last position, as mentioned earlier, we'll have the Season 15 champion, Anton, starting in last. So, looks like everybody has formed up. We can see Matt 58 now starting the formation lap. It's going to be very important to get that heat into the brakes and tyres. They will have cooled out now quite a bit on this slow start to the formation lap. Ooh, thank you, Antilentilus. That's insider information from the pit box right there. So, where is he? There he is, Ike Sky. Accidentally started on wet tyres. I think he was doing wet practice yesterday, and he might have forgotten to change that in his setup. So, we might see a very early pit stop for him, or him struggling a lot at the start of this race, so that has not gone to plan for him, unfortunately. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen. Alright, we are now coming up to the formation point, I believe. So everybody will be getting into a 2x2 formation here, and then we'll go round the last turn and start this race. So at the front here you can see on the left side there, that's Matt So now he's on the right, but he will start on the right-hand side of the track. Let's view it that way. Next to him, CJ in row 1, and you can see Ice Guy actually now gone into the pits. Now they are in the acceleration zone. Question is, when will Matt decide to go? And the race is underway. Good start there from Matt. CJ has been caught napping a little bit there. Everybody rumbling now down to turn 1, and that might get very tight very quickly there into number 1. First couple of cars getting through there. Well, Darth Cyrus with a little bit of side contact there, but no harm done. Looks like most of the drivers actually going cleanly through turn 1, so that's very good to see. Matt 58 still fending off that first position. We can see Cyrus. He is already now up into 2nd with a decent start. Means CJ dropped down into 3rd. That's someone in the distance there for a little bit out wide, but there's a lot of runoff there, so no harm done. The first 4 cars here breaking away a little bit from the rest of the pack. But I'm going to guess they will be caught up by the quicker drivers in a few laps, so they'll have to try and use the time they have at the moment to break away. So, as I just switched to him, he's off in the grass. I was just wanting to talk about that Ike's guy pulled into the pits right before the start of the race to get new tyres on and start from the back. But yeah, looks like he drove out and spun right away, so not the start he was hoping for, that is for sure. He's currently last, and he's got a 25-second gap to the next driver ahead. Well, it's a long race to try and make up places. CJ dropping down further, Volume now up in 3rd. Darth Cyrus still on the tail of Matt 58, but he's not quite close enough yet to try and get into the lead. So let's have a look further down. Where are our quick drivers here? We have Anton. He's already up into 16th after the first racing lap. So very good start there from him. Ahead of him we've got TPW, who's having a little look here, and ooh, a bit of a twitch there from TPW in the Mercedes. Now we should get a good run down the back straight here. Is he going to be close enough? He goes to the inside. Who's going to be the latest of the late breakers? Looks like TPW should have that in the bag. Andrew leaves the door open there for Anton, but looks like at the moment he can hold on to it. Although Anton goes round the outside there, still holding on to it. He's going to be on the outside again, and now he has to watch out that he doesn't lose a position himself in a drag race there with Easy Red down to turn number 12. Next one's going to be a right-hander, so Anton again is going to be on the outside. Behind them is Jack Game 88, also trying to gain from what is happening in front of him, trying to find a gap that he can go through, but at the moment they're 2 by 2 and there's nowhere really to go at the moment. Yeah, looks like Anton has already lost 1 position now, and he's now side by side with Jack Game. They're 3 down, 3. Oh, I can't talk anymore. They're 3 wide down the straight there. It's Anton and Andrew, and it looks like Jack Game has dropped back, and that is Mewcat in the green Lamborghini now having a look as well. And Easy Red looked a bit out of shape there, but he held on to that one. Yeah, Mewcat now into 17th. Anton still holding on to that one. He's currently in P15, but yeah, that was quite a costly lap there for Anton. Again, we can see TPW going for the overtake here. He's now up into 13th. That was Vlad's that he went past, but he's got Anton still right behind him for company, and I'm quite sure those 2 Mercedes drivers will fight for that position. And TPW is no slouch by no means, but Anton is a driver who can put on a lot of pressure on the driver in front. Oh, TPW there into the runoff and onto the grass. That definitely didn't go his way. Andrew also with a half spin there in the background, but he held on to that one. But I think he dropped a few positions. He's now down into P20. Meanwhile, at the front, Matt 58 still in the lead, holding on to it well, trying to extend the gap. Gap currently is 2 seconds. CJ in second here. We've got JJ. I think he started 11th. He's already up into 3rd. So again, like the last reverse grid race at Zhuhai, JJ making a good effort at the start of the race to get up the order as quickly as possible. Stevo starting also a few places down. He's already up in 4th, but he's already got Nins behind him, who's had a great start. He started somewhere down in P19, 20-ish, around that area, and he's already up into 5th. So that's absolutely looking great for Mission Spinnow for the team championship. Next up for Nins here in this group is Steve-O in the Bentley. So you can see a bit of a drift there going on from Jay there, that was. But he's still very close now down the straight. He's going to go to the inside, surely. That's side by side now with CJ. That's going to be for 2nd position. And it looks like JJ has the run and is ahead into the corner. Can he hold on to it? Yes, good braking there. And that's him through. I'm just wondering what happened to Matt, because I didn't see him pit or anything, but he has vanished. So that means JJ is now actually in the lead. Ahead of CJ here, I've got Nins having a little look there in the background, but he's not quite close enough yet to Steve-O. Tucks back in behind, and these corners are usually one line really anyway, but we've seen people going side by side here, so that won't stop them from still trying. Still having a look here at this basically 5-way battle group for P1 effectively. And there we have Matt 58, and it looks like he has some damage, so must have had some error somehow, and that's how he dropped out of that 1st position. Very unfortunate for the Ferrari driver, because he had extended a little gap, but you can see one error can cost you a lot here. We've got quite a few cars actually going side by side here. JJ is starting now to run away with it, but we've got Steve-O and Meerkat going side by side through turn 2. Looks like Meerkat here with the upper hand. He's in P3 now, and now Steve-O has Nins back for company again, who is looking very feisty at the moment, but hasn't quite cracked that egg yet. That is Steve-O in the Bentley. So now having a look actually around the outside here into turn number 7, but surely that's not an overtaking opportunity. Nope, Steve-O blocks that off very well. Has to now watch out that he doesn't get the switchback, and nope, Steve-O stays ahead for these S curves here and defends that position for now. Next opportunity for Nins will be the start-finish straight. Steve-O cutting the corner there a little bit. Obviously has to watch out that he doesn't get a slowdown penalty awarded by the game, but it looks like everything was fine for now, but wouldn't have helped his run out of 13 and through 14. So let's see, is he going to be far enough ahead? Nins is having a little look. You know, Nins is decent on the brakes if he wants to be, but it wasn't quite close enough. He's going to hold it around the outside. Nothing doing there for Nins. Again, has to tuck in behind the Bentley. As it gets darker now, we can see that the first few raindrops are coming down. So that is also something we will have to watch out for tonight, as I already grabbed my list and a pen to try and mark when people come in to put new tyres on that, because that's going to be very important tonight. But at the moment it's only a couple of drops, but pretty sure it will get wet fairly quickly, as Nins now again has a look up the inside. Unconventional spot, but that will give him the inside line coming into turn number 12, and yep, there he has it. Easy as you like, and that is now Nins finally past the Bentley of Stevo and into 4th position. Mr. Ferret next up, who's also trying to profit from the slow run of Stevo out of the corner, but he will find himself on the outside here, coming down the front straight. Question is, can he make that move stick if he's sitting there? Surely not, but that would be a bit of bravery under braking. And looks like Stevo can hold on to it for now. Yep, there he goes, and holds on to that one for a little longer. Anton, meanwhile, up into 9th position, has Matt 58 behind him, disposed, and Matt actually still fighting back, even though with that damage. He's currently trying to defend Atlas there, and looks like at the moment he might do it, but I was thinking that, yeah, Atlas having a look there, and Matt 58 with the error going deep into the corner, and that allows Atlas to go through for 9th position. Well, it's coming down quite heavily at the moment, so I'm wondering how long we can continue driving on slicks. Surely drivers will notice the lack of grip already. Question is, when is the switch point where you want to go onto the wet weather tires? So back at the front here we have Stevo right in the midst of it. That was Mr. Ferret there, going side by side with Kirio, and it looks like the Ferrari has the upper hand here. If you're still side by side in turn 2, usually that can go quite a way through the first couple of corners, and now we're already on the back straight here. Fairly short lap, and looks like Kirio will stay ahead for the moment. CJ is behind Nins here. That is the battle for P3 essentially. We can see behind them we have Stevo, Kirio and Mr. Ferret just for company. And just having a look, looks like JJ is actually managing to pull a little gap. So that's a very good job from the Ferrari driver. And just having a look, since everybody's cooled down into a rhythm now a little bit, let's use the chance and get a little on-board lap here with the Ferrari driver, just in case you're not too familiar with the road layout of Indianapolis. So coming down to turn 1, hard braking at I think it's the 400 feet braking board, if I'm correct. So we've got a right and a left and then a right again, and then goes into the right of 4. Then we've got chicane of 5 and 6, flat out if you get the line right. Then down the back straight, another good overtaking opportunity, and down into turn 7, hard braking for the left hand turn. And then we get into the little S section that we have here, so right of 8, then turn 9, everything not quite flat, but not quite a hard braking zone, and the right of turn 10, and then 11, at least in the dry, is flat out, and it spits you right out onto the braking point for turn number 12, right-hander here, back onto the infield. Then we've got turn 13, and this is crucial for acceleration, because again in the dry, turn 14, if you get the line right and are not on very heavy fuel, it should be flat out as well, and then you go back onto the start finish straight. Meanwhile, while we've been talking, JJ has been caught up by Meerkat here and is having a little look down into turn 1, but he was not quite close enough. You can see lap times now starting to drop, so the effect of the wet weather is apparent. We've got Andu into the pits, so let's mark him for maybe wet weather tyres. If I can find him on my list. There we go. So Andu into the pits. I don't know if that was for repairs or not, but the car at the moment looks perfectly fine. So yeah, maybe it was the first pit stop for wet. So I'll put a question mark behind that one there. Next one into the pits is M. Longer. Also fairly far down the order. But yeah, it looks like the first couple of drivers are trying to make the switch work. Back at the front, JJ now trying to break the slipstream of Meerkat behind. We can see Nins in a third is also closing up to this group. You can see how heavily it's raining here in turn 1, and then we've got a couple of drivers now as well. We've got Mr. Ferret who's coming into the pits. So he's pitting on the end of lap 12, but I think it still might be a bit early for that, because at the moment pace has dropped by about 1 or 2 seconds. I can't imagine that that is enough at the moment for it to be the transition point between the two tyre compounds. Meerkat found his way finally past JJ, who was struggling with keeping hold of that position, and now next up is Nins, who might try and have a go at the Ferrari here. Not in turn 12, he's not quite close enough, but surely if he can get a good run out of 13 here and through 14, which might get tricky now at this point due to the weather, he might have a chance, but it looks like he's a bit far back for my liking. Yeah, 6/10, and that might be a bit too far to try and get past. You can see here that Anton, in the meantime, has made his way up into P4. He's got Stevo for company, so I'm guessing that must be a lapped... Sorry, no, that's Atlas. So I don't know if that timing board was correct. So we've got Atlas here behind Anton, and then we've got Stevo behind Atlas here for P4. Now we've got a whole bunch of people into the pits. So we've got CJ, we've got Vlad, we've got Easy Red, and we've got Curio now all into the pits. So again, I will take notes. CJ and Hugo also into the pit lane in the orange McLaren. Mr. Ferret also in now after a good start to the race, and he was already in, so maybe that actually was for repairs or possibly fuel, depending on how light he ran at the start. But he will be into the pits now, definitely for those wet weather tyres, and then we'll go out on track again. At the front, we can see now it's getting wetter and wetter. We can see spray starting to form now. JJ still trying to hold onto Nins there. Onto that second position, try to defend. And it looks like Nins is struggling now with the weather more than JJ is possibly, because he's starting to drop away. We've got more guys into the pit, so we've got Mew Cat, got Phantom Hamster, and we've got Volume, who all have come into the pits. So, looks like it's definitely now time to get off those dry weather slicks and then get on to the now faster wet weather tyres. Because if you leave it too long, even if the slicks still might be a little bit faster, obviously gonna risk a crash. More guys into the pits. That's Speeding Sedan and Vlad into the pits again. That's interesting. So maybe he messed something up on the last stop, possibly. Wouldn't say that hasn't happened ever to anyone. And now we've got the front runners in the into the pits as well. So we've got JJ, Meerkat, Stevo coming in, and all getting off the tires. So at the moment, most drivers are either into the pits or have just come out. But we've got Ike Sky here going side by side with Mad Dog. And I think both of them haven't pitted yet, so they're still on dry tire. I mean, Ike has pitted because he accidentally put wets on for the start. But yeah, at the moment, it looks like he's still driving fine. And that was Mad Dog, now coming into the pits himself. So we've got Nins at the front now. We've got Anton. I've got Atlas. All three of them haven't been to the pit lane yet. Neither has a Jack Game. And Matt58, I think, hasn't come into the pits since his necessary repairs. Ike Sky now up into 7th. And there we've got Stevo in P8, and I think he's the first of the drivers on wet tyres in P8, and I think he was P4, possibly before the pit stops. Now we've got TPW also into the pits, and is that Anton there? Yeah, we've got the front runners as well, so we've got Anton, Nins, Atlas, all into the pits. Jack Game 88 also into the pits. I think every car here has their own pit store, so fortunately for Nins and Jack Game, there won't be any penalty for double stacking. And CJ into the pit lane again, which is interesting because he already was. So yeah, perhaps something went wrong there for CJ. So, having a look here, after the round of pit stops, Anton just came into the pits. He's actually emerged in front of the pack. So, good stop there, apparently, from the Mercedes drivers. And Anton is actually already quite a bit behind. That's a 20-second gap to Anton. I'm thinking that maybe something went wrong, because that's a very quick pit stop. He gained quite a lot of time on that one. Which is a bit suspicious, but on the other hand, we know he's very quick, so anything is possible. But he's struggling a lot, and he's getting overtaken here, so possibly he didn't get his tires changed. Ooh, that's very sideways for Anton here, so I'm gonna have a look. Oh, he's really struggling. So did something go wrong there? I think that was TPW actually here in the front, or it might be Speeding Sedan. Yeah, it was Speeding Sedan who was sideways there, and the question is now, is Anton coming into the pits? Yes, he is! So he must have had some issues on his pit stop, and he didn't get those wet weather tyres, and now he has to come in again. Absolutely shocking scenes there for the Mercedes driver. he will be very glad that he has this championship already wrapped up. Otherwise, that would be an extremely frustrating moment for sure. Now, with Anton into the pits, this means that there we have it. Nins now into the lead. It's very unfortunate there for Anton. We can see JJ now up into second due to that. Just going to have a look what his penalty is. 10 seconds. So something must have gone terribly wrong there for JJ. And he will have 10 seconds added to his race time at the end of the race. Ike Sky now also into the pit lane. Took him quite some time to finally get off those slicks, but now he has pulled the trigger, one of the last couple of drivers to do so. Let's hope everything went well with his pit stop, and he'll join somewhere in the mid-pack. That's some glitching going on with Anton. I don't know what's happening there. Meanwhile, Jack Game in 7th behind Meerkat. So this is the position in P6 battle there. And I'm pretty sure Jack Game will want to improve, because at the moment he's got Atlas ahead of him in P3, so that would be good points all from Atlas, but he's currently covered off by Nins in P1. Don't want to forget that team championship, so it's Unseelie Racing in the green Lamborghinis versus Mission Spin now in the blue and grey Lamborghinis. And Anton missed his pit box apparently, so that hasn't gone his way. That was a very, very long stop. And it looks like, is he going now? There's definitely something going on with Anton, and he might drop to the back of the grid here. Which is very unfortunate, because he was doing so well up to this point. Meerkat now in the battle with the Jack Game. Jack Game had made his way past here before. We can see that was a Ferrari in the wall. Can't quite see who that was. But Meerkat now getting back at Jack Game 88, and he's back up into P6. Good job from the Audi driver there. Question now is, can Meerkat now stay ahead? He has been overtaken once, regained that position, but he will have to continue fighting if he wants to stay where he is. Going on board here with Jack Game 88. Try and get a bit of a feel what the conditions look like for the drivers, and you can see he's got a very good run here out of turn number 10. As they go through 11, they're going to be side by side here down into 12, and Jack Game has the inside now, and I think that might have been the same move he has done the previous lap. Now big question is he going to get a better run out of 13 and stay ahead this time when they come down the front straight? And he looks like he has a decent gap for now, so that should be position secured for Jack. Meanwhile, further down the order, we've got a bit of a battle pack here. So we've got Andu in 13th, and behind him he's got Speeding Sedan and TPW, who are looking very racy here. So they surely will try and get Andu here. We can see Andu also with that time penalty. It is a penalty of also 10 seconds, so we can see we've got quite a few drivers. JJ, Mad Dog, Andu with 10 seconds. CJ has already gotten 20, as has Vlad and Darth Cyrus. So it's all going wrong for those drivers, and they will lose a lot of time at the end of the race. Back at the front here that's battle for P6. Meerkat still hasn't given up on that 6th position, and it looks like those two drivers are really going for it. Pretty equal pace as it seems, as no one is really quickly breaking away after getting in front, although Jack Game still about with 8 to 9/10 advantage versus the Audi driver, who has a bit of a moment there coming out of turn 13, and it tends to get wetter on the outside there, so we'll have to watch out for that. And looks like at the moment Jack Game can hold on to it and has pulled out a decent enough gap. Behind them, Ike Sky now slowly catching up to Phantom Hamster in the other Audi. I'm just having a look if those two drivers are actually teammates. Yes, they are. So Meerkat and Phantom Hamster in the Squadra Hamstercat in the blue, red and black Audis. Now, after Meerkat was overtaken, let's see if his teammate at least can hold on to his position. He's getting pressure from Ike Sky in the McLaren behind, but Ike not really close enough at the moment to try and make a move. But obviously putting on pressure is even more important in these conditions, because it might force your opponent into an error maybe a little bit more easily than trying to force an error on a dry track. As you can see, Phantom Hamster not getting the best of runs here out of turn 10, but looks like Ike Sky probably not close enough. He's having a look here, trying to open up the corner. Phantom Hamster went a little bit defensive there to try and fend him off, but he's got Ike Sky right on his bumper now. Question is, can Ike get a decent run here out of turn 13 through 14? And you can see how tricky 14 has now become due to the conditions, but it's still a very important corner. You can see Phantom Hamster trying to break the slipstream there, but it looks like Ike Sky might not be close enough. He's going to be on the outside here though, so let's see where more grip is for braking, but it looks like the Audi will hold onto it for the moment. Ike Sky again having a look here up the inside into turn number 4. Not your convenient overtaking opportunity. Now the question is, how do the two get through the flying chicane there? Turns 5 and 6 as they come down to the back straight. You can see Phantom Hamster now really fighting for it, defending the inside line here. Ike Sky has to go to the outside. They're pretty much side by side, but Ike on the outside there, not much he can do. He's trying to get the switch back. It's going to be now on the outside, and a brilliant move from Ike there as he goes round the outside of turn number 8. He prepared that move in turn number 7, got a good run and went right round the outside of the Audi there. Impressive job there. And that puts the McLaren now up into 7th. Just having a look here, Steve-O and Atlas battling it out, it seems here. That is now for P3 actually, so a good job from Steve-O there in the Bentley. And even more impressive considering Steve is technically a reserve driver, so a very good job there from him, currently in P4. So we're on lap 23 out of 63. The rain is very much here, and we've had a lot of action so far in this first third of the race. So let's have a little look where everybody is standing. So currently leading the race is Nins. He's got quite some pace there, extending the gap at the front. and doesn't look too challenged at the moment. He has been fighting for the lead in Zhuhai as well 2 races ago, but unfortunately he disconnected while battling for the lead, and we'll have to wait and see if tonight he can drive this home and get his win in the final round of season 15. Then second, we've got JJ, who again has had a good start in the first 3-4 laps and has made his way up to the front. Unfortunately, he's dragging a 10-second penalty with him, so he will lose some time at the end of the race. At the moment, that would cost him a few positions, but he still has some time to try and create a gap to the cars behind. Talking about the cars behind, we've got Atlas in P3 racing for Unseelie Racing. They are challenging Mission Spinau, that's Nins and Jack Game, for the win in the team championship. Behind Atlas, we have Stevo, who's now putting on the pressure, so let's stay with this battle here. Looks like Atlas didn't get the best of runs here. Stevo already next to him in turn 14, and now he's got all the straights to try and get that slipstream. Now, what is Atlas going to do? It looks like he's going to defend the inside here. See, Stevo goes to the outside, but he might not actually be close enough here. No, he isn't. Stays behind for now. So, behind those two, we've got Easy Red in the Ferrari, doing a good job so far this race. Then Jack Game 88, he was a second last week in Dubai, currently running in 6th. And then we've got Meerkat, oh no! Spinning into the grass then, into the gravel trap. Let's hope you can get out of that one. And it looks like he can continue, but that will have cost him some time. He was right behind Jack Game 88, and I think he will have lost some time there. That is Ike Sky there behind him, who is now ever closer to Meerkat. So Phantom Hamster, Meerkat's teammate, is in P9, currently running a fairly quiet race. And then we've got Mad Duck, currently in 10th, but he also has a penalty, so currently he is very close to losing that position at the end, because the gap to the car behind is currently only about 10 seconds. So let's go back to the front here, where Stevo is battling away with Atlas. He's having a little look to the inside, but it's not really close enough, so just showing himself in the mirror, try and put that pressure onto the Lamborghini driver. And I think a 3rd position tonight for Stevo would be a good result for him. So let's see if he can make it happen, but at the moment Atlas stands between him and the podium. Talking about Anton, he had that pit issues after what seemed like not putting on the wets accidentally in the first try, and then overshooting his pit box in the 2nd try, and then when he tried to reverse back into it, he hit a wall and received damage. So unfortunately he lost a whole bunch of time due to that. He was in the lead before he came into the pits, and now he is last. So Anton has quite some catching up to do, but he's a quick driver, so I'm fairly sure he'll manage to get back into the points. That is P20 effectively, so he'll have a lot of time still to try and make it happen. I think round about an hour left, 55 minutes-ish perhaps. Back at the front here, again coming into turn 1. Stevo there, side by side with Atlas, who again defended the inside line. So Steve-O's opportunities for overtaking have been sparse so far, and he hasn't really made anything work at the moment. So he'll have to try to be a bit more creative, perhaps, or get a very good run. Maybe surprise Atlas in a spot where you wouldn't necessarily expect an overtake. Things like that. Alternatively, stay behind Atlas for a few laps. Hope that he makes a mistake, and if he doesn't, just study where maybe you're faster than your opponent. And that was TPW there with the half spin. Looks like he kept it out of the wall. He's got now cars behind him catching up, maybe being a bit surprised there, but looks like everything has gone fine there. So dropped a position here to match 58, but he's going to hold on to it as he's on the inside. It's not really that deep on the brakes though, and he looks like for now he's going to lose that position as Matt cut the corner a little bit there, which gave him a bad run, so perhaps TPW can get that position back. Oh, and that is Matt very far outside there, and he might get a slowdown as well, because that's technically off the track because you're over the white line, but he's lost that position anyways. So that was easy pickings there for TPW, but you'll have to watch out not to make any further mistakes tonight. Back to the front here, you can see Steve has lost a little bit of touch to Atlas here, so might be struggling with the tyres at the moment, because the tyre temperatures and tyre wear are a bit of a factor here tonight, and will be in the morning as well, towards the end of the race. We might see it dry out later on, but at the moment it's still raining very heavily. You see Atlas there with a mistake into turn 13. This could finally give Steve an opportunity to make the move, but we can see Atlas with the better run through the not so flat out turn 14, and that gives him the advantage down the front straight to stay ahead of Steve, even though Atlas had that mistake there. But again, he'll be under more pressure now, as he has definitely lost some time there to Steve. The gap currently is a bit over half a second, so that definitely is a striking distance. So one good / bad corner from one of the drivers can make a difference here. You can see Steve making a bit of a mistake there with a not so optimal line through the chicane, and that cost him half a second, and is now back 1 second behind Atlas there. So this is definitely going to get interesting. Jack Game has caught up to Easy Red here. It's going to be interesting to see how quickly he can get past, as he's had a bit had a bit of issues trying to get past. I think that was Meerkat early on, where he needed quite some tries to get past, even though he was definitely the quicker car of the two. But yeah, he had to do several overtakes because he just couldn't make it stick. Now he's on the outside of Easy Red, and either Easy Red had a shocking run through 13 or decided to let Jack past. We don't know, but we can see that Easy Red quite a few seconds slower than Jack, so maybe he saw that one coming and thought that wasn't really worth fighting for it. Again, Steve-O caught up to the back of Atlas a bit more now, but it looks like it's a bit to and froing between those two drivers, One driver gaining a bit more in one sector, and then the other driver regaining that time in another sector. So currently looks like those two drivers are pretty much bang on pace. We've got Mad Dog and Phantom Hamster here. That is the battle for P9, going side by side here down the straight. Question is, can he get ahead? There we go. Mad Dog had to give that position away, and that means Phantom Hamster is now into 9th. Mad Dog with a bit of front damage there, as it seems, which is obviously not optimal and going to hurt his cornering speed, and especially the speed down the straights. You can see Phantom Hamster going defensive here on the back straight, but I don't think that Mad Dog is quite close enough here to try and regain that position. Still, Mad Dog is not giving up this one. Got a decent run here and down into turn 12. You can see Phantom Hamster defending that one. Mad Dog having to go to the outside. He's right behind him. On the left there, we have the Audi of Phantom Hamster. There he is. Mad Dog trying to open up the corner. We can see Phantom Hamster running a little bit wide there. Can he hold on to that one? We can see they're side by side here, coming down the straight. And it's going to be a drag race down into turn 1. Mad Dog not giving up on that battle. He is already ahead. He's going to be on the inside. The question is going to brake late enough to stay ahead? Yes, he is. That's Mad Dog back into 9th. Had a good run there through 14. Opened up the corner on entry. Took a wide line and then cut into the apex. And Phantom Hamster ran a little bit wide there, and that opened up the opportunity for Mad Dog to regain P9. Again, Steve-O as close as he might have ever been, but again, he doesn't get the good runs out of 14, unfortunately. And that just stops him from getting those overtaking opportunities into 1. But he's definitely working for that 3rd position. And I think a podium position is a great way to end the season. You can see through the first couple of corners he's really struggling. So it's a bit unfortunate for Steve-O there. Every time he's close into turn 1, and then after turn 5 and 6, he's already lost so much time that the gap has extended up to a second again. Oh, that's a car facing the wrong direction. I think that might have been Andu. Yes, it is. Oops! As he nearly takes out a fellow Audi driver there while trying to get the car pointed into the right direction. But looks like no harm was done. I think that was Jack Game going through there. Ike Sky now continuing his efforts to move up the order. He's now currently in 8th. And has caught up to the back of Meerkat. So Meerkat defended his position very well last time, although in the end there he had to concede that position and lost it. But the question is now, can Ike Sky do the same thing that Jack Game has done earlier this race and get past Meerkat here, as we're now at the half point of the race. Could see there in turn 1, Ike Sky very hard on the brakes. considering the conditions. Back end trying to step out a little on him there. And that was someone in the background, I think, into the grass. Unfortunately, I couldn't see who that was. So yeah, for now, Meerkat has defended that position, but I'm very sure Ike will be thinking about how he can get past the Audi in front of him. So, now it's going to be important to get a good exit out of here. Mike Sky currently 4/10ths behind. Trying to get a good run out of here, but you can see he just gets washed out to the wall there. And has to get out of the throttle a little bit to not hit that concrete barrier. And that has cost him a few tenths and an opportunity to try and make an overtake there. And in all of that, Atlas has made a mistake and was into the wall. As we can see, he's got damage on the front left now, and that means that Stevo is now through for third. So costly mistake there from Atlas. He possibly, I think he maybe hit the outside there in turn 14. And you can see that left front there is heavily damaged. He's only got light on the car on one side now, and question is now, is he will he have to come into the pits, because he looks like he's limping that car quite a bit. Ike Sky and Meerkat here trying to negotiate traffic. As we've got Meerkat here into the pits. So not going very well for Unseelie Racing here. Can't see what this stop is for, but possibly it's also some damage. His teammate Atlas is staying out for now. Oh, Ike Sky has made a mistake in the last corner. I was wondering why he lost some time there. Now he's facing the wrong direction, and that's a very dangerous position to be stopped. And I think while spinning around, he's hit the right rear on the wall as well. He hasn't lost any positions due to that. You can see Mad Dog behind there. Still a bit off, but he's lost quite some time there. And possibly his chance to finish 7th. Big question is now going to be, has he gathered up any significant damage, or will he be able to continue on? In the practice race yesterday, that was one of the most dangerous corners, really, even on the wets, because on the inside there, where the transition is between the infield road course and the oval banking, you've got quite a big puddle right at the bottom, and you have to cross over that to get onto the start-finish straight. So if you hit that at a wrong angle, you will go flying into the outside or the inside wall, either way. So Ike's car, to me, looks fine at the moment. We did see while spinning around he did touch the wall a little bit, but fortunately enough he wasn't collected there while stopped in the middle of a high-speed corner. So possibly a bit of luck there for him. But that has ended his battle. Just having a look, Meerkat actually retired. Unfortunately, I don't know what for, but that does mean now that Ike Sky has moved up into 7th. So a bit of bad and a bit of good luck there for Ike. Meerkat dropped from the game. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. That's what it looked like to me as well. and which is unfortunate because I think that was Meerkat's return to the league after some absence and then having those issues while running in a good position. That's very unfortunate for him. So, as we're now a bit more than halfway through the race, let's have a little look what the team championship is saying, although I'm pretty sure I know what it does. So we've got Nins currently in first, and his teammate Jack Game is in P5. So they are racing Unseelie Racing, which is Atlas, who has that damage and actually now has Jack Game behind him due to being slow to due to that damage. Sorry, and it's currently not going too well for them. His teammate Newcat is only down in 14th. So yeah, at the moment, Mission Spin Now is going to gather nearly twice the amount of points as Unseelie Racing is, and Unseelie is already 63 points behind, and even if both Mission Spin Now racers would retire, the current position from the Unseelie Racing drivers wouldn't be good enough. And as I say that, Atlas runs wide there and gets out of that rejoin there, luckily enough, because he might have crashed into Jack. You can see he's definitely struggling with a front end downforce and has dropped down to 5th. So at the moment, it's looking very good for Mission Spin Now to win the team championship. One goal that Jack Game had remaining after losing out on the driver's side of the championship last week at Dubai. So now the two drivers are trying to gonna seal that team championship. We've got Stevo at the front, possibly driving one of the races of his lifetime. Very good effort there from the Bentley driver. He's now closing onto JJ ahead. Obviously, JJ has a 10-second penalty, so he would drop that position at the moment anyway, but it does feel good to get position on track anyways, so that's what Steve is going to do. And his pace is really good at the moment, so once he gets past, he might try and go for the lead of the race, although he's currently 20 seconds down, and I'm fairly sure he's going to lose more positions in this battle. So now important to get a good run out of 14. You can see JJ there with a bit of a wiggle as he went over that puddle there. That's on the inside of the banking. But again, looks like Stevo is not going to be close enough. Possibly Stevo is running quite a bit of downforce. That's hindering him from getting better runs down into turn 1. But surely he's got the pace. You can see last round they were pretty much equal on pace. But obviously if Stevo can't get past, he also can't go faster. Makes sense, doesn't it? But if I saw that correctly, I think Stevo should be able to go a good half second quicker than he did last time around. Question is going to find a way past the Ferrari of JJ. Well, that's interesting. Jack Game here behind Atlas, but I think this should be a fairly unfair fight, considering the damage that Atlas has. He's staying out at the moment. Very brave of him, as you can see Jack nearly running him over. But it's dangerous to try and go to the outside there, because if you slip up on that puddle, it will send you right into the outside barrier. But yeah, Atlas, not really any chance to defend. He's down on top speed. And that is Jack Game through as he gets blocked by the Audi there. And that's Andu! Oh no! First, Andu doesn't really want to let Jack Game through. I mean, he has been lapped and had contact with Jack there. And then he turned in on Atlas as well. And that's really bad news for Atlas, because he had already a lot of damage on the front. And now he's got even more. You can see that front bumper now nearly falling off his Lamborghini. And surely you'll have to come into the pits to repair this now. So let's go on board here with Stevo, who's really fighting for it now with JJ ahead. And looking at the track, it looks like it's already drying out. So that was quicker than expected, but did stop raining and it's still fairly warm. So looks like we might be switching back to dry weather tyres in a bit, depending on how big the puddles on the track are. Again, JJ defending that inside line there into turn 1. And yeah, you can see there's a few puddles here and there, but it's pretty much dry most of the part. At least on this side of the track. That might be different in the last couple of corners. But again, Stevo not with the best of runs through turns 2 to 6, and again has dropped back a bit. We've seen this been a bit of a habit of his in other battles as well. But here through the S's is fairly quick again, and has closed that gap to the Ferrari in front. Can see Stevo did go a bit defensive there. I don't know why. Stevo wasn't quite close enough, but that should have enabled Stevo to get a good run out of 13. But again on the straight, it looks like he's losing time. So he's definitely struggling a bit with top end speed tonight, which is not helping him with overtaking. And again, nothing doing there for Stevo, and he stays in P3. Again, not a very good run out from Anton there through the chicane. He's definitely struggling with that part, and that's costing him time each lap. At least one positive note for him, it looks like he's not losing any time to the lead at the moment, if he wants to try and catch that to the end of the race. Gap still currently about 20 seconds. So, Anton into the pits. He's still in last after that issue in the pit lane earlier. And I'm wondering whether he might be the first one to go onto dries. I mean, he's already last. He's not got much to lose, as Stevo now lapping a car and battling away with JJ. They're side by side here at the moment, but Steve-O is going to be on the outside. But it looks like JJ got such a shocking run that now he has to let Steve-O through, and that is P2 for the Bentley driver. Question is now if he can hold on to it. He'll definitely have to defend into 7, considering his runs through 4, 5 and 6 haven't been the best previously, but looks like he might just hold on to this one for the moment. Can see Mad Dog, the next one, into the pits. So I think we're now starting to see people pitch for slicks. It's fairly dry now. There's a few wet spots still around the track, but I think it's worth considering now going on to the slick tyres. You can see lap times currently to the 31s, 32s, so that definitely is the transition period. These are about the lap times we saw when we switched to wets, so I think now's the time to switch back again. Phantom Hamster also into the pit lane for his set of dry tyres, as is Speeding Sedan. You can see JJ now dropping quite a bit behind after he's been passed by Steve-O, and Steve-O promptly going quite a bit faster there. Now starting to try and catch up to the lead. In the last lap he did gain 7 tenths, but he's only got 20 laps remaining to try and catch up, so it's going to be quite a task. Got Ike Sky in the McLaren now coming into the pits for his set of dries, as we have CJ as well in the Audi. So looking at how it went on the first round of pit stops, I'm going to say since I think last lap was the first stop, so from now on until the next couple of 3, maybe 4 laps, we should see everybody coming in. As we're speaking about it, that's Kruger in the McLaren now coming in as well. You can see a bit of damage there on the left side for the Swedish driver, so not had a bit of contact there, but not quite sure whether that was with a wall or an opponent. Easy Red just lost that position to Jack Game there, who's having a very good drive and is now up into 4th, which isn't very uninteresting for him, because the gap ahead for him is at the moment 10 seconds, and we shouldn't forget that JJ still has a 10-second time penalty, so at the moment it looks like Jack Game has a very good chance to end up on the podium tonight, and with that double podium that would be a very good finish for Mission Spinow to seal the team championship tonight. Speeding Sedan into the pits, I think that is. And I think he already was in, but perhaps that was just for fuel or for repairs. But this is surely now for the dry tyres. So that was interesting that he stopped again. So everything going to plan there for the Mercedes driver, as it seems. Either Red still hasn't given up on that 4th position. He's still right behind Jack Game. This is the Italian battle between Ferrari and Lamborghini. And at the moment, Jack Game has the upper hand. So, could just see Jack Game, the first one of the front runners to pull the trigger and come into the pits. And that looks like he has been quite slow through that corner, so perhaps he was a bit worried that it was wet on the pit entry and didn't want to hit the wall. But that definitely wasn't the fastest of pit entries that I have seen. You can see in the back we've got Darth Cyrus and Curio also coming into the pits for their dry tires. Longer now also into the pits, and everybody is switching at this stage. So that was evenly spread out, I think, about a third each on every stint, a third of the race. So now the last 20 laps will be on dries, and it's going to be an interesting decision to see whether drivers will go with the soft compound or the hard compound tires. Unfortunately, can't see that from the outside, but it might give some spicy battles due to that difference in speeds. Easy Red, the next one to come into the pits, is a car, not the cleanest of all, but still looks fairly good. All the important aerodynamic parts are still in place, and after a quick stop, which I hope went without issues, because we saw Anton with a too quick stop and they ended up on the wrong set of tyres. But Easy Red now continuing his race. Nin's now coming towards the pit entry, and surely he's going to come in now. No, decides to continue for another lap. I mean, yes, he has a big lead at the moment, so there's no need for him to risk anything. Can use that lead and possibly the information from his teammate, who has already stopped, to think about when he wants to come in to get off those wet weather tyres. Ike Sky just moving past Volume here. And I think Volume still might be on wet. That's why that was so easy for Ike. So you can see how much he's extending now, and Volume really struggling. So I'm fairly certain that the wet weather tyres are now not the tyres that you want to be on. Atlas coming into the pits, and surely he'll use this opportunity to also get a bit of damage fixed, at least try and make sure that that the bumper doesn't come off. That's Darth Cyrus getting out of the pit box. Car still fairly damaged, but looks like that was all his pit crew could do for him at the moment, and he will be coming out in P19, I think. Like Sky there, interestingly going to the inside of the track. Not quite sure why. Should have the slicks on by now, and the inside line there surely is going to be a bit wetter, so maybe you're struggling a little bit with tyre temps, but yeah, it does be interesting to see him do that. So more pit stops. Easy Red now also into the pits, and I think he already was, so possibly also something gone wrong there from him. Atlas has at least now got two headlights again, so you got that one fixed. We've got Andu also into the pit lane now, Then we've got Matt 58, quite beaten up Ferrari here, getting rid of his wet tyres. And there's JJ in the Ferrari. He was currently running in second. He's now going to come in for his pit stop. Going to be interesting to see where JJ rejoins, because he had about a 10-second gap to Jack Game before the pits. Looks like it's P4 for him. And it looks like we've lost Jack Game actually. That's Nins right behind JJ here. But yeah, it seems like he has vanished. So unfortunately, more technical problems. And now it's going to be interesting. So let's have a look. Atlas is currently in 7th. And Atlas has already done his stop. New Cat also not in the race anymore. So both Unsea Racing and Mission Spin now only have one driver left. Is that correct? Just check. Looks like it. So with that being the case, Mission Spin now has sealed the team championship. Because with only one driver, they can't be caught anymore. So now it's really just for the win for Nins, because the team championship is already in the bag for him. As we can now see that the sun is coming up here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. TPW now coming into the pits to get rid of his, at this point, fairly worn wet weather tyres. And he'll be very happy once he gets off of them. Volume also into the pits. JJ currently in P5, and it looks like he's got a bit of company here. Ike Sky in 4th, that is. I'm just having a look. They should have both been in the pits, is that correct? Yes, it is. So that is 4th position at the moment. Ike Sky with that one issue earlier where he spun around in turn 14, but looks like he's recovered well from it, and he's now up into 4th. Anton has fought his way out of last place. Very good effort from him there after being about 4 minutes down after about 20 laps. So he still lost some more time, I think. But overall, he has made up positions. He was in P24, I think, at one point of the race, and now he's already back up into 17th. CJ and Anu here in the battle for the last position in the top 10. Looks like CJ got a fairly good run there on his fellow Audi driver, and he pulls to the inside. That's Matt 58 there into the pits in the background. See CJ there, can he get past there? Yeah, he's got the inside line. Good braking there from him, and CJ up into 10th now. And very interesting that Nins and Steve are still out. Because I'm fairly sure that both of them are still on the wets. So, I mean, they've got some gaps to the cars behind. So there's no real reason to risk it at the moment. And I think also Mad Dog possibly. No, he's been in the pits, so he's back on dries. So yeah, it's interesting that we haven't seen Nins and Stevo come in yet. Oh, that's Jack Game there in the comments section. So good evening to you. Yeah, that's very unfortunate. But at least your teammate is doing well. And I'm fairly certain that at least the team championship is now in the bag for you guys. As Longet coming into the pits was with quite some damage there on the front of the Audi. I'm starting to think now that possibly Nins and Stevo are going to try and go to the end without a stop. I'm not quite sure how the wet weather tyres fare in the dry conditions. And that's Ike Sky, who's possibly going to unlap himself any moment because he's on the dry tyres. Yeah, not quite sure how good the grip is actually with the wets in the dry. But I think the more important factor is the tyre temperature, as that was Speeding Sedan off the track here in the background there in turn 14, and it looks like he might have hit a wall there. Meanwhile, his teammate, TPW, is fighting Kirio for P13, as both of them currently getting blue flags from Atlas, who's behind the two. Oops, TPW running a little bit wider there perhaps than he wanted to in that mid part of the corner. Lost a bit of time there to Kirio. Again, a bit of a slide there. So that has not been the best run for him, and it looks like he's losing even more even more time, and won't be in a position to try and make a move on the Ferrari ahead. So looking at the situation here at the front, I can only imagine now that Nins and Stevo are trying to go to the end. That's the only thing I can imagine. They're not lapping very quick, but they have some gaps. So Nins is at the moment still losing time to Stevo, but I think Stevo is not gaining quickly enough to try and get past, because the gap at the moment is still 17 seconds, and he's not quite gaining a second each lap, and we've got only 10 laps remaining. Meanwhile, Mad Dog, I think the quickest driver on track at the moment. Last time around he did 1:27.1. That's a very good time there from the Audi driver. But he does have a penalty of 10 seconds, so he'll need to gain 32 seconds basically on Stevo and make that overtake as well, if he wants to get him to P2 tonight. The gap behind to Ike Sky at the moment is big enough for Mad Dog, so unless he makes any mistakes, that shouldn't be an issue there for him. But yeah, if he wants to get into second, he's got quite some work to do. Last time around, gained 5 seconds there on Stevo. So if you can keep this pace, it might be doable for Mad Dog. Speeding Sedan now into the pit lane after that incident he had on the last lap. You can see he got that front repaired a bit and has regained the ability to use his headlights. Not that it's too important now as the sun is coming up in the night. That definitely would have been a bigger factor, but he's going to exit the pit lane now, and it's currently in P19 and on his way to 2 championship points. So since quite a few drivers have gotten penalties, as has Speeding Sedan for I think crossing the curb there out of the pit lane. Let's just have a little look at the current penalty situation. So we've got Maddock with 10. That's currently not affecting anything. We've got Ike Sky, who has also JJ behind Ike Sky. JJ with that 10-second penalty as well. That not affecting anything. We've got Volume with the 20-second penalty, and he'll go 10 seconds behind. So Volume would still drop that position. There's currently a 3-second gap between the two. Then we've got CJ also with 20 seconds, Andu with 10, and Kirio with 20 seconds. So between P9 and P13, there might be quite a bit of position changes after the race. Darth Cyrus has somehow managed to gather 1 minute of penalties, but at the moment he's got a 2.5 minute gap to Speeding Sedan behind, who also has another penalty. So I think that shouldn't hurt Darth Cyrus, but it's quite an accomplishment to get that many penalties in one race. So talking about Volume and Hugger here, it looks like Hugger has been catching Volume here, and as I say that, was that Volume? Yeah, Volume spun in turn 3, and that cost him the position to the Swedish driver there. That's a bit unfortunate. I was hoping for a battle shaping up there, and then as we switch to Volume, he spins. So commentators curse once more. Good evening, F1 racer. Good to have you here, and good that you're enjoying the action here. Just having a look, was that Ike Sky? Yeah, he's catching up to the back of JJ. Not that he necessarily will have to overtake him for P4, but I'm betting just for the pleasure of doing so, he will try and get past to get P4 on track. You can see it's a bit hazy morning here out at Indianapolis, so not the best visibility, but the cars do have front and rear lights, so it shouldn't be an issue to see other cars, and it's a fairly nice and sunny morning here. After that issue now, and as I say that, Volume is off the track again, and I think was that Easy Red perhaps? No. Another Ferrari definitely was off track there, and now Volume has lost another position, so currently he seems to be losing concentration, and he cut that corner a lot. Surely that has to be a slowdown. So he lost a lot of time there due to those mistakes, and he's now outside of the top 10. Racer LP asking about JJ's penalty. Yeah, I think last I've checked should still be the same. Let's have a look. Yep, both Mad Dog and JJ with a 10-second penalty at the moment. Ike Sky with a mistake there on the last lap. He was catching up to JJ. Well, I think the last lap time was a 39 or something, if I saw that correctly. So mistake in there somewhere for the McLaren driver, and he's lost a few seconds to JJ. And he doesn't necessarily have to get past due to that penalty from JJ, but it always feels better to finish ahead on track and not just after the race due to penalties. So back at the front, we can see Stevo still catching up to Nins, who perhaps is not going flat out at this point anymore, as he's only got about 5 laps remaining. But Stevo now has to have a look behind, because there's only a 5-second gap to Maddock here. Maddock can see Stevo there at the other end of this straight, and surely now he will be motivated to try and get past. He has been catching quite substantially, a few seconds each lap, but he does have a 10-second time penalty, so he has to catch up, then pass quickly, and then try and somehow extend the gap enough to stay in that second position at the end of the race. So Racer LP already doing the calculations where people will end up after this this race, and yeah, having a look at Mike Sky. If he finishes in P4, he's going to gain 33 points, and that's going to put him on 153, and that would put him past Mr. Ferret and Racer LP for 9th in the championship. So yeah, I hope you all got that. Enter Elementalist. Ike Sky currently in 11th in the championship, and on a finish that would put him into the top 10. Now Maddock has now caught up to Stevo, and this is probably the latest that he would want to do so, and he now has to quickly get rid of that Bentley and then use the last 3 laps to try and extend that gap. He has been gaining about 3 or 4 seconds on average, so if he can get past now, he might actually pull this off. So that's Maddock past. Not really anything Stevo could do about that due to the tyre disadvantage. But yeah, Maddock now has to try and extend that gap, and it looks like the gap to Nins actually ahead is only 8 seconds. So Nins might actually hold him up and screw that whole thing up for Maddock here. So that's definitely going to be interesting to see if Maddock can stay at it. Oh, there's actually some car parts there on the outside that Maddock ran over, so that's very unfortunate. You can see there, I think that's a bumper flying through the air, so there's debris there on the track. And who was that? Oh, it was Ike. He's lost his rear wing and his front wing is broken, and that has all gone wrong. He's nearly lost the front. He's lost all at the rear, and that must have been a very heavy impact there at the exit of 14, and surely that will have stopped all of his ambitions to get that 4th position, and I think that will mean that he might get into the top 10. That's going to be hard. He's not going to get past Race LP anymore, that's for sure, and he's unlucky he won't get past Mr. Ferret either. He's now further dropping positions. He's already down to 7th. And, okay, looks so Ike span and then got collected by Anton. Yeah, turn 14 is not really a turn where you want to be standing on track. It's just a big gamble whether everybody can manage to avoid you or not. That's gone very unfortunate for him. Interestingly enough, Easy Red and Phantom Hamster are finding themselves on the same part of the track with just 3 and a bit laps remaining as they come down the start-finish straight to begin lap 61. And looks like Stevo has lost a bit of time there, and he's already 9.3 seconds down of Maddock, and I think Maddock is going to pull this off. He's got 2 seconds to Nins ahead, and he's on a very good way to finish 2nd. Yeah, Ike Sky now into the pits, having to repair that damage, and he's going to lose further time. That is very unfortunate for the British driver, and he's going to drop possibly all out of the top 10. As we've got Easy Red and Phantom Hamster here now going side by side down into turn 7. No! And Phantom Hamster spins it on the curb and nearly goes off into the grass, and that is Easy Red through into P5. Wow, that went all wrong for Phantom Hamster there, and Maddock has now caught up to Nins. So Maddock actually might finish first on track. I'm not quite sure if Nins is aware of that. He's trying to fight back, but he's just not got the grip in those tyres. And he's got to watch out that he actually doesn't run into debris there. That looks fairly fine. And yeah, Mad Dog now with a 12-second gap to Steve-O. So he's definitely going to finish second, but I don't think that he's going to pull out a 10-second gap to Nins on this last lap. As we can see Ike Sky coming out of the pits there, still without a wing or a rear bumper. Oh, the damage wasn't fixed at the pits for some reason. Oh, that's very unfortunate there for Ike. So I was wondering why the car was still looking the way it was. Andu and TPW fighting it out, but it looks like Andu has a penalty. Yes, he has. So that position would only be for some extra honour points here as they're unlapping themselves from Steve-O. It looks like TPW has run wide and spun off, and Andu is through. And depending on how quick TPW rejoins, he might get a chance to gain that position. But Mad Dog with an incredible effort there on the last stint. I mean, the other two ahead of him hadn't switched onto slicks, but here he is. Mad Dog is going to win the final race of season 15 on track, but unfortunately due to that penalty he will drop down to second, and it is Nins for Mission Spinal that is gonna finish in first tonight. Steve-O with a very good effort. They're holding it out on track on the wet weather tyres. He's going to finish in P3. Now having a look at JJ, does he have any further penalties? No, it's still 10 seconds, so he will finish in fourth. And also a good drive there from the Ferrari drivers, as he's now only got a couple of laps to go. Corners, sorry. There he is, coming around the last corner now, and JJ will be in fourth, as he has a little photo finish there with Hugger. So good job there, and I think that's all in the top 10 now in across the line. And yeah, a very, very eventful race here to round off season 15 of the GT3 League. Here we've got the full result. Nins wins that race due to Mad Dog's penalty, but he does get past Steve there, who finishes in third. JJ P4, Easy Red 5th, Phantom Hamster finishes in P6, and Atlas only in 7th. His teammate disconnected, so no chance there for Unseelie to try and win the team championship tonight. Unfortunately, Hugger the Swede in P8. CJ will finish 9th. Ike, after that issue he had, only finishes in 10th. Unfortunately, could have been 4th possibly, but yeah, that damage there right at the end really hurt him. TPW finished in 11th. We've got Andu in P12, Kirio in 13th, Volume P14, Matt 58 in P15. Then we've got Molonia, Anton, who lost a lot of time very early on in the race, finished in 17th, and we've got Darth Cyrus and Speeding Sedan rounding off the finishers. Well, what an eventful race. We've seen different strategies. We've seen great overtakes. We've seen big misfortune in the tricky conditions. And all in all, I think that was a season finale that we all had hoped for. Perhaps some of the drivers would have wished it had gone better. But yeah, all in all, it looked very good. So let's get into the commentary box. As I can see, there's quite some people waiting to get their interviews done. So let's set this up and talk to the first drivers. Let's see who's there. And of course, the first driver we should talk to tonight is race winner Nins. Good evening.
Good evening.
So,
Sorry, I am a bit out of breath, but I really had to push like hell to keep Maddock behind me.
yeah, sounds
And
like
then-
you put a lot of effort in that one.
Very, very. I finally know disconnection when I was driving first, so that's a win.
Well, first of all, obviously, congratulations on winning the team championship.
Thank you very much.
I'm gonna guess you must be fairly delighted with winning the race and the championship tonight.
No, not at all. No, I'm really, really. I don't have any words for it, other than that I cannot thank my teammate enough for his setup, because without his setup, I would have been lost like yesterday on the.
Yeah, a good setup does go a long way.
Very long.
It was interesting to see that you and Steve decided to stay out. I was waiting for you to come in at any moment, but it just never happened. Maybe tell us a bit how you came to that decision there at the end of the race.
That's also thanks to yesterday, because the Tier 1 guy, Andrex, finished the race on his rain tires. So, considering I was fighting my softs a lot yesterday, I thought I'd take the risk and try to do what he did, and in the end it worked out.
Well, it did only just, and only due to Maddock's penalty, but
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just have to have the luck, and let's get a new scene in there, I've just noticed. So, yeah, a very interesting race, and congratulations to you, and obviously to Jack,
you
who
very much.
unfortunately couldn't finish the race, but also
Oh no!
is part
Oh,
of the team championship right there.
yeah. Shame that Jack couldn't finish. Was it the disconnect or probably?
I think it was, yes.
Uh, uh, uh,
So very
ah,
very unfortunate there.
yeah, very. But yeah, we got the team championship. I think I might have jumped over Mucat today in the driver standings, so that's one position up.
I think he also disconnected, yes. So yeah,
Oh no!
you should have jumped him. Yeah, it was only a 5-point gap. So that will be P6 then.
Nice, nice.
I mean, let's talk to Atlas, the remaining driver from Unsili tonight. Good evening to you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So yeah, it was a bit of a stretch to try and win the team championship tonight, but yeah, then Mucat had that disconnect, and also your race didn't go flawlessly, unfortunately, did it? At one point, perhaps were you thinking that it's not going to be enough tonight?
I knew it wasn't gonna be enough. I mean, they are two good drivers, and I don't know what the distance was between us, but I think we probably had to win and finish second, and they had to both have a bad day. So I didn't even think it was possible. My main goal today was to finish third in the drivers' championship, And well, by my calculations, I've done it. So I'm not unhappy.
Let's have a look. Not quite sure where TPW ended up, but he also didn't have the best of races, so I think that 5-point gap possibly
You finished 11.
P11. So yeah, that's 10 points and of difference. So that should put you through. So at least that's one achievement tonight. I think P3 is not too shabby at the end of a very long season to finish there in the driver standings.
Yeah, definitely. It was my goal at the end because after 3 or 4 races ago, I mean, you saw that Anton wasn't gonna be cut, and also Jack Game started winning more races, and already then I thought, yeah, P3 is the maximum I can get this year, and yeah, I did it. That makes me really happy actually. Although I don't know what happened to TPW. Did they have bad luck or just bad base? I don't know.
Well, let's just ask him then what happened. TPW would just been talking to Atlas about the drivers' standings, and not the best of races for you tonight. Unfortunately, that has cost you third in the drivers' standings. So tell us a bit about your race, perhaps.
So the short story is basically to the race of the season that you had to be most prepared, I came unprepared. I literally handed in my semester project today at 2 p.m. So I've had no time to practice whatsoever. I had 3 or 4 laps just before, like half an hour before the race, and that was it. So I was basically going into this blind, and I mean, I wasn't really expecting anything of myself because of the lack of preparation, and I mean, I guess I'm sort of satisfied. I would have maybe liked a top 10, but it is what it is, and I wasn't really expecting much, and it is sort of a shame because I would like to keep in the fight for that third position.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, sometimes that's how things go, and obviously a semester project. Yeah, I'm gonna say it is more important than racing here, but yeah, nevertheless, I think it was a decent effort. Left quite a few drivers behind you, and I think fourth after a long season is still a good result in a championship.
Yeah, definitely. I'm overall with the season. I'm quite satisfied. I've had my ups and downs, but you have that every season, so can't really complain. I think the SLS has done me well. So yeah, I'm altogether I'm quite.
Oh, thanks very much for that, Ticklish Picklewickle. Well, next up, we've got a few more drivers who are willing to do a bit of interview tonight. The next one here we have is Phantom Hamster from Squadra Hamstercat. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
A bit warm.
A bit warm, yeah. I've heard it was quite a sweaty race for some drivers. Tell us a bit about your race. How did things go from your perspective? It looks like you were involved in quite some battling.
Yeah, it was. The first part was quite good because the car was working really, really well in the dry. Apart from I was overheating my left rear tire really badly after about 10 laps. So it made any sort of right-hand corner bit entertaining to go into and come out of. And then I just had no pace in the wet, which was irritating to say the least.
Yeah, the conditions were a bit tricky, it seemed, and looked like turn 14 was the most tricky corner. A lot of people having issues due to the puddle there at the bottom. Is that also the spot where you would say that was the one to watch out for?
Yeah, pretty much any of the corners that had puddles on, if you were just a centimetre or two too far over towards the apex, then you were going to go round, and there was no way of stopping it. And then I was gutted because towards the end of the race, I was pulling away from Easy Red, and then we were having a battle, and he cleverly picked the outside. I went on the inside and spun going into the one of the chicanes, and I was just so annoyed because I knew as soon as I went inside, it was like, I know what's going to happen now, and I just went round and he went past.
So yeah, we've got Easy Red also in the commentary box. So maybe your perspective on that little battle there with Phantom Hamster. Looked like it was easy pickings for you at least.
Yeah, well, it was an amazing battle with him. Cheers to him as well. But on the last 2 corners, I think he took the inside line, and I let him take the inside line. He overshot me and then drove past.
So, yeah, we've heard that it's been a bit difficult in some corners to actually try and fight for position because you might end up in a puddle. From your perspective, what were the most tricky corners to try and not have an incident due to the track conditions?
Yeah, well, definitely the last sector to the start straight. It was a complete lake over there, so it's spinning left, right, and center, but still managed to keep the car straight somehow.
So yeah, I think the biggest incident in that turn 14 tonight, unfortunately, had Ike, who was currently on a good way to finishing 4th and moving up a few positions in the championship. Good evening, Ike.
Good evening, Thompson. That's a bit of an understatement. I think. Is there a prize? Are there points for doing a flip in a GT3 car?
Oh, you were actually inverted. Is that correct?
I did a full flip. Yep.
Oh,
Proud of you.
Well, unfortunately, we didn't get that on camera. I just suddenly saw people running over bits of rear wing and bumper,
Yes.
and then saw you kind of
Limping.
with half a car left, basically.
Yes. And to add insult to injury, went into the pits, and I think the story of quite a few people tonight, the pit crew decided they weren't going to repair my damage. They were just going to put some new tyres on me and send me on my way.
Well, could have at least put some flex tape on the car, that's for sure.
Whoa, yeah. That bumper, that front splitter wasn't really doing anything, and the rear wing was doing even less.
Well, that's probably because the rear wing wasn't there anymore.
Well, exactly. No, my race was kind of ridiculous and was, as you say, looking to be a bit of a fairy tale race, all things considered. Made a mistake, entirely my mistake. Left wet tyres on the setup, and had to pit on the formation lap to get some actual, tyres that are going to work in the dry conditions. Threw some soft slicks on, and then was cursing the weather when it started raining at lap 7. I was really hoping to get some more running on the dry tyres. Pitted up, I'm pretty sure, at just the right moment, managed to nail that strategy as far as that's concerned. And essentially just set about trying to get up the order, get as far as we could. It was an absolutely dream race up until that corner, but again, strategy, not necessarily missed call in the second pit stop. I elected to put soft slicks on because when I'd been doing practicing, the hard tires just in every session that I did, the hard tires never got any heat in them. So you ended up you'd struggle for a couple of laps on lukewarm tires, and they'd go blue, and you'd be lost. So started threw the soft tires on, and this is the first time that they got up to temperature, and then they started getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and by the end it was like driving on marbles. It really was.
Oh, that sounds like very tricky conditions. I mean, you had JJ there ahead of you in the last couple of laps. Was maybe also a factor that you were trying to push to get past?
No, at that point, the tyres had been gone for a good few laps, and it wasn't a case of there was any pace in the car. It was I was just trying to get to the end. In a way, I kind of used up all of my luck during the race with some of the moves that I had to pull and all the progress I had to make. It really is a shame to finish out the season like this. But these things happen. That's racing. I think you're gonna have to commentate season 16 because I'm gonna want in on that.
Well, that sounds like you're ready for a fight then. Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
definitely an unfortunate end, especially since even though you were struggling, you were quicker than JJ, and he did have a 10-second penalty, so that would have been P4 easily, and
Yep.
that would have shot you right up into 9th in the Drivers' Championship.
Yep, and as if to add even more salt into the wounds, for a long time during the rain, I was actually following Mad Dog, and keeping pace with him. So, yeah, I'm not gonna say it's a race of regret. It was a really unfortunate, unlucky race. But these things happen, and I've got to come back for more next season. This was way too much fun.
Yeah, we need to rekindle our battle next season.
We really do. It was especially in conditions which are favourable to the Audi, because I feel like I had an unfair advantage tonight. I really do. That McLaren is so soft when you need it to be. It really was an absolute dream tonight. It's just a shame, a massive shame that the tyres were overheating in the latter session. There was genuinely a podium position there.
Well, motivation seems to be there for the next season, but let's perhaps talk to our pole setter tonight, although it was a reverse championship grid race, but started at first nevertheless. Good evening, Matt.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you?
A bit up and down from that race, but it's a bit weird having to start from pole. But yeah, it was a very interesting.
Yeah, it's definitely a bit weird if you're not used to having no one in front of you at the start. But in hindsight, I mean, the first couple of laps you were doing a really good job, staying there and even pulling out a bit of a gap. But yeah, it looked like then at some point you had some sort of incident. At least I could see you had damage on the car. So maybe tell us what happened there.
Yeah, literally the wheels came off my race. I was struggling with the final corner long before the rain came in. I don't know why. Maybe again setup issues, but I hit the bump going into the final corner, and I careered wide and span, which did put a little bit of damage onto the front of the car, but it felt okay after that incident, and I started to fall down the field a little bit. But when the rain came then, it was just a case of keeping it on the road. And apart from a couple of mistakes, I made really one bad mistake, which I must apologize for. I went into the back of a Mercedes at turn 1. He missed his braking point. I missed my braking point by a massive distance. We both went off and I clattered into him. So I must apologize for that. But very interesting race. And the fact I've only raced in, 5 of these races so far, I'm pretty happy with my results. I just need to pick the pace up a little bit, that's all.
You know, that is definitely a case of practice makes perfect. So
absolutely.
There will be a next season, so maybe that one will be your season. We'll see.
Let's hope so, as you say. Just a bit more practice, and we'll see where we are when the new season comes around. But it's been a lot of fun. So
absolutely. So it seems like last but not least in the commentary box we have CJ. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
So, very eventful race. From your perspective, happy or not so happy about how things went?
Mixed feelings, to be honest. It was start was good. Lost a couple of positions, but I expected that. Had a problem with the pit stops. I don't know if it was picked up on the stream or not at all, but I had to pit 3 times in total for wet tires.
Yeah, a couple of drivers had issues due to pit stops not working. They wanted to. That was a theme tonight.
Managed to get it working. Was down in probably the low 20s. But happy to sort of climb back up to the position I got in. I think I finished P9 in the end, P10, something like that. So I was quite happy with it. It was a good race. It was fun, but yeah, it was just that tire issue.
Yeah, definitely. and they were very important tonight, as we've seen quite a bit. Fairly tricky there on track in the wet.
Yeah, the last sector, sort of, especially as it dries up, the last sector was stayed quite wet. So it was quite a sort of tricky thing to manage with when and where to switch tires back onto dries. But I felt I had pretty good wet pace. I was getting race engineer things saying that I'm faster than the leader at certain points. So I was really happy. I made most of my positions in the wet. So yeah, I was quite happy with the wet pace. It was quite good.
To be fair, if that was at the end of the race, Nins was still on wet tyres on the dry, so that might have explained it.
Yeah, no, during the actual full wet running. So, but yeah, no, I pitted back for dries and was a little bit slower again. But I don't know. I hadn't put too much practice in this week, so because there's the Indy event going on in Saturday, so I was focusing more on that and setting up.
All right. Thanks for your interview, CJ, and perhaps see you next season.
See you, and definitely see you next season. Cheers.
All right, bye-bye. So, that was it. That was Season 15 of the AOR Project Cars 2 GT3 League. This was tier number 2. My name was Thompson, and I hope you all enjoyed this very, very eventful season, even though I only stepped in for commentary of Tier 2 in round number 7, or 8, I think. But nevertheless, I hope you all enjoyed it, and we will be back for Season 16, so hold an eye out for that on apexonlineracing.com, and I wish all of you a very good evening. Good night.